Hey, what's going on, guys? What's up? So, we got some stuff to take a look at today, and starting a little bit later than I had intended. So, sorry for that. But most of you guys watching this probably didn't know what time I was planning on starting, so that's okay. Yeah, what happened was my Google account, my Gmail account, the one that I use for this, was full. So I couldn't receive emails. So I was trying to get some works from some wonderful Patreon supporters who were trying to send their works, and just the email wasn't working. And so I deleted a bunch of emails, and I'm like, well, why is it still not working? I went to my Google Drive, deleted a bunch of stuff there. And I'm like, well, hey, it's still not working. What's going on? I realized I had to actually then empty the trash. that was why. Even though I deleted a bunch of emails, it was still saying it was full. Yeah, you had to actually empty the trash. So just a heads up, if you guys use Gmail, watch out in case it gets full, because once it's full, you actually can't receive mail or send mail. So that's what happened. Anyway, so we're starting off a little bit later because of technical issues. What's going on? I see Chris is there. Austin. Hey, what's going on there? Kerwin, Water Duelist, Z, and Arvs, who, since Arvs is here, I assume maybe one or two of the other guys is also here. But Arvs has some works we're going to take a look at today. So we'll just look at yours first. So another thing that I just want to ask you guys as we're getting started is, have you guys ever heard of the band Foreknown? It's a very odd reference, I know, kind of out of nowhere, but you guys know if you've watched my live streams, I'm often talking about music and movies and other random stuff. But have you guys ever heard of a band Foreknown? I'm curious. I think they're like I don't remember offhand where originally they're from, but I feel like they were a very Midwest band. Anyway, from back in the day, they had an album called Calm Seas Don't Make Sailors, I believe is the name of it. But you can find it mostly on YouTube, I believe, if you just search like Foreknown, Calm Seas Don't Make Sailors. I think that's right, and you can find it on there. But all morning I've had this, well, in particular, totally random. I don't even remember the last time I've listened to the band, but I've had this one song from them stuck in my head all morning. So I'm dying to listen to the song as soon as we're done with the stream. So what kind of music is it? It's like hardcore. Anyway, yeah. This kind of imagine like early 2000s Midwest hardcore. So similar to kind of like Dead to Fall, that kind of stuff. I guess anyway, yeah, that kind of stuff. So check them out. Let's see, the Chevster's here, another Zach, and Linkamus. So, all right, guys, let's check out Arvs' Barbatos build here. We got 4 works to take a look at today, and just a reminder to you guys, if you're unfamiliar, if you've never seen any of these episodes before, the works that we're going to be looking at are works from some of my Patreon supporters. So work in progress and or finished builds is what this is for. So this one in particular is finished, but we will see some other work in progress stuff from other people. That Zuda is eye candy. Talking about the Zuda behind me here? Yeah. One of the shelved works in progress, anyway. The chest, but what does it mean? Oh, right. I totally forgot about that for a second before you said that, Chris. The chest of the Barbatos. Yeah, what was that? Something about the chest of your Barbatos? I don't remember exactly what that was. I just remember there was something about the chest of your Barbatos kit or something. Yes, and I also spell Zach the correct way. Yes, Zach, that's right. I do. Growing up, I know this is getting off on a tangent. Sorry, Arvs, and sorry for watching, but I went to an elementary school that was a pretty small elementary school, like 1 class per grade. And so my class had 3 Zachs in it, out of like 22, 23 students, something like that. 3 of them were Zachs. So there was me and one other Zach who also spelled it Z-A-C-H. And then there was the other Zach who was like my best friend, still one of my best friends, who spells it Z-A-C-K-E-R-Y. so he was different. But it was also like his mom's maiden name was Zachary or something like that, which is strange. I've never heard of like Zachary being like a family name, but interesting. Okay, so let's take a look at the Barbatos here. First of all, the first thing that immediately jumps out at me is the metallic blue because it's got that shine on there, but the white definitely does not look metallic. So it's a mix. It's the first thing that I'm noticing anyway. It's just a mix of finishes there, some matte and some like glossy metallic, which I do like to see when it's done well. And I mean, I think this is looking pretty nice. That gold is very nice. I like that. The chipping looks a little bit, not necessarily heavy, because there's not like too much of it, but it's kind of a little bit all over the place. I can see that you did try to put it like in the areas, like you tried to be a little bit thoughtful with it about like putting it in areas that would be more likely to get scratched. The head makes sense. I mean, especially with the Barbatos. But if there's like this much chipping going on, that's maybe a little bit heavy there on the V-fin. Also, just looks like here on the top of the shoulder, you can see it doesn't necessarily look like chipping. It looks like just brushes from a paintbrush or something. So I maybe work on just the chipping application a little bit. I know, like for me, one reason why I don't like to do a lot of chipping is because it just kind of takes forever. Like in order to do it well, you just have to go really slowly with it, and I just have a hard time doing that. Like what usually happens to me is like I'll start off slow, and then like as I'm going, like kind of get impatient, and then like start to speed up, and then I'm noticing it's just not looking as good. Like I can see like the quality of it starting to fall off, so then I end up having to rework it and kind of slow down again. So also like a little bit of the panel lining you can see not cleaned up on here, like the black panel lining. Some of like where you touched it with the brush, you can see is not then cleaned up. But the pre-shading looks nice. You can see that pre-shading there on the edge. It's like a little bit speckly. I don't necessarily mind that. Some people might, but for me, I don't necessarily mind it. It kind of just looks like pre-shading. And so yeah, the mix of metallics and the non-metallic white. I will try to pay attention to the chat here, Arvs. I know you're there in the chat, but like I've got the windows kind of covering each other up, so I'll switch back to the chat every couple minutes or something so I can see what you're saying. The decals, I'm guessing those are maybe Delpy decals, just because they're like the kind of like hollow finish, or what, I don't know. I can't remember what he calls it. I don't think he calls it like holographic finish, but anyway, yeah. I'm guessing that's what those decals are. Those look nice. Kind of depending on the angle they're catching the light, they look kind of different colors. It's pretty cool. The blue, I mean, I think you're going for like anime accurate colors. And one thing that I've never quite liked about the Barbatos is the blue is kind of very dark and there's very little of it. So it's kind of very like high contrast about the Barbatos that has like a lot of white, and then the like one of the few colors that it has on there, because it only has a little bit of red as well. But the blue is very dark. But I mean, as far as like keeping that color anime accurate, just for me personally, I don't really like how dark the blue is just on the Barbatos in general. I think like on yours, I like the fact that it's a mixed finish though as well. So that's nice. You can see a little bit of mold line here on the V-fin. So that's kind of thing you just have to look out for as you're preparing the parts, and sand that ahead of time before you get to painting. Otherwise, once you get the primer on there, that should stick out like a sore thumb. Once you get primer on the part, even if it's like a mold line, because sometimes that happens. Sometimes, especially on like white parts, it's kind of hard to see where the mold lines are sometimes. Once you get that primer on there, it should stick out. And at that point, you have to go back, sand that, then spray some primer again. It's a pain in the ass, but you got to do it. You can see maybe a little bit of that mold line kind of here along the edge of this white part here on the head as well. And it looks like maybe the paint scratched a little bit there on the face. Maybe just while you were putting the kit back together or something. Paint got a little bit scratched, and a little bit of this red paint kind of bleeding out there along this detail. That as well, you can just, I'm assuming that was done with enamel, so you can maybe just clean that up pretty easily. And now that it's top coated, it's going to be a little bit harder to do that, but just next time, this kind of thing that, obviously I'm like zoomed way in. When you're looking at the kit like from afar, these are not the kind of things that you're immediately going to notice. I think this kit looks great when you're looking at it like this. It's only once you zoom in and you're like really starting to nitpick some of the details that you can see, that like the decals, because like the decals are like holographic decals on top of like matte parts. You're seeing like the decals kind of sticking out a little bit like that. I would guess that's just because of the combination of like the hollow decals with then like some flat like matte top coat on top of it. But like the use of the metallics for bringing out the details in the inner frame is nice. That copper kind of color, brass copper, right? Kind of color is nice. Yeah. I like that. I like the addition of this brown, or not brown, gray band there at the top of the shoulder. That's nice. Yeah. I'm gonna guess that you added that panel line here, scribed to that panel line, because as far as I can remember, it doesn't have a panel line there. So a little bit of scribing on there. Oh, and this little detail here added onto the top, that also must be added, like a little detail part or something. That looks nice. It's a good fit for that. Adding like those 3D printed detail parts, it's kind of tricky. You have to find a good spot where they actually fit. And like a lot of times you see people using them and they just kind of look slapped on because they don't really fit where they're used. But that looks nice. And the ones on the chest as well, obviously. These are some added detail parts. Those also fit the design pretty well. So I think good use of those parts. Oh, some scribing here on the front of the thigh as well. I kind of noticed that earlier, but didn't really say anything about it. Since we're talking about added scribe lines, I think these are also added here on the side skirts, or they're just enhanced, because I think there's like a very shallow kind of detail line there, and then maybe you just scribe that out a little bit more. I use the detail upgrade part specifically for the Barbatos. Oh, okay. So it's a set specifically for this kit. Okay, well, that makes it easy. There you go. But yeah, those do look nice. Let me see. What else can we see here? That kind of chrome gunmetal, or kind of like a silver kind of color there used for the piping bits also looks nice. Silver always looks great once you get like some black panel liner on it and really get that high contrast there with the black filling in the details, and then that really bright silver. It always looks good. So that looks nice. But yeah, I like the gold that you used. This is more of like an orangey kind of gold. It fits better with like the colors, because you got like the blue and the red are kind of very rich colors. So to have like a really rich gold there looks nice, compared to if you use like a very like light colored gold, it wouldn't have looked as nice. So that's, very yellow orangey kind of gold. It looks good. So I think basically like the base painting, I think you did a really good job on, and like the detail painting and the placement of the detail colors and stuff, and like adding some details here and there with the detail parts, and like describing these details and stuff. That looks very good. It's just like the finishing steps, like some of the detail painting and the panel lining and the weathering is not as clean. And obviously, we weren't going for a clean build. You're obviously trying to make it look a bit weathered with the pre-shading and then with the chipping and all that. But what I mean by making it cleaner is just making it a little bit tighter, I guess was the word that Mike kept using, right? When we were doing the clean versus weather feedback sessions. Just tightening up some of the finishing work on that. And yeah, I understand. It's hard to do when you spend a lot of time working on a kit, and then like you kind of get to the end, you kind of just want to be done with it. So it's hard not to kind of speed up towards the end. You kind of have to keep that slow pace going, because you got some areas where the chipping does look nice, like here, like right there, where you're just like seeing little bits of that. That's nice. But then like on these parts, like you can see where it's just kind of like painted on there. So just taking it slow, keeping that consistency going. It's something that definitely I struggle with, so totally understand that. But like I said, like just looking at the kit as a whole, it looks great. So I mean, I'm sure this looks good up on your shelf. Or was that like that? Anyway, very cool. And the weapons look good. Like I was trying to check out the weapons, and just based on the photos, well, I guess you can kind of see. Couldn't really see the weapons that well, and like the sword and the mace, there's not much really to see there. But I mean, if I can say anything about the weapons, those also look fine. The chipping here on the mace looks pretty nice. Just that like brushed silver on there, dry brushing. The cannon weapon, I can't really see it all that well, so couldn't really say too much about that. It's there on his back. I think that's kind of like the best photo we have of that. But yeah, very cool. All right, there we have it. Arvs, Runin, yo, what's up? Zachary Liz, what's up? And Victor saying 100 viewers, only 16 likes. Whenever you hit that like button, yes, hit the like button if you don't mind, if you want. Let's see, who should we look at next? So Arvs is here. I don't know who else is here at the moment. Let's take a look at Justin's next. I don't think Justin is in the chat at the moment. But he did. Yes, hang on. He was one of the ones that I had to kind of get in touch with about resending his photos because I was having trouble with the email and his Google Drive link. So I was just chatting with him 40 minutes ago or so. So he might be around. Justin, if you're there, give a shout in the chat. And okay, just getting the pictures open here. All right, good morning and shout out from the Philippines. Hello. So these are work in progress photos on a master grade Jagen kit. If you guys remember Justin's last work that we looked at in the last couple episodes, we saw his work in progress and then finished work on the master grade Wing Zero Verka. And one of the things that I really enjoyed about his Wing Zero Verka was his use of LEDs, and it looks like that's going to be the same thing with his Jagen here. So nice LED work there in the head, getting those cameras lit up. Obviously, having a lot of light leaking out. The LEDs are very bright. So, but obviously later with some painting, that'll help that to block that light. But just based on how bright those lights are and how how uneven those fingernails are cut, I really didn't want to cut your fingernails right now, dude. If I can get sidetracked there for a moment. But yeah, just make sure that later on, once you get to painting, and I'm sure he knows what he's doing with LEDs a lot better than I do, so I'm sure he'll sort that out. But just to make sure that that light's not leaking out, because the LED looks very bright in there. And there's a bunch of work in progress photos, so we'll go through these. I don't know if I have them in order or in opposite order or whatever, so we'll just kind of take them as we go. Whatever comments that I'm making, I may have to amend my comments as we see further work in progress photos. But that light in the cockpit there also looks very nice. I love to see that. That's one thing, man. If you guys ever are entering a contest of mine where like LEDs count for something, because normally in my contest LEDs don't count for that much because I'm normally not counting them as like a big part of the criteria. But putting if you can, and if you want to score some extra points, putting an LED in the cockpit like that to get that nice cockpit glow, I love to see it. So that looks very cool. Always like to see that on Gunpla builds. If you're gonna have the cockpit open, you're gonna have LEDs in there. It always looks cool. Here we got some scribing, which looks pretty good as far as I can tell. It looks maybe a little bit rough, but I think that the lines basically look straight, so I think you can still kind of clean that up a little bit. And like here, you can see it looks a little bit rough there, but this one looks a lot cleaner. So I would assume that this side is maybe finished, and this is like halfway finished. It's where it still is like in the process. So because these lines over here look straight, everything looks a lot cleaner on this particular arm. So as far as I can tell, kind of zooming in, trying to get a good look at that. But the lines and the placement of that looks pretty good. This one kind of cutting straight across there, I'm not as sure on. I'll have to see like kind of as it progresses, and I don't know if there's maybe anything else that you can do with that to kind of maybe enhance that. It seems a little bit kind of like just cutting straight across. How like the forearm, once the forearm, I think this is only like the front half, or we can only see the front half, but like the forearm has panel lines running down the side, and if you also kind of cut straight across that, it's kind of just like a even separation, just basically like separating the part into equal fourths. So like ideally you would want to make it kind of not equal. It's kind of like the whole rule of thirds thing, right? So if this was either, I know it's kind of late, you could redo the panel line if you want, or try to do something else to kind of enhance this. But I think the panel line being basically cutting across the center, it'd be better if it was a little bit lower or higher. I would probably go lower, but if that was either cutting it into 1 2/3 rather than kind of like being in half, I think would be a better placement for that. Cutting across the forearm there. Oh, we had a super chat that I missed from Victor. Thank you, Victor. Super sticker. Thank you. Appreciate that. They're over there on YouTube. All right. Oh, here's the other side of the panel line. Yeah, so because it's like cutting straight across there, yeah, I think a little bit higher or lower would probably be a better placement for that, because as you can see, like here on the side, it's cutting this, separating it into like equal fourths, basically. And like asymmetry would kind of what it would be. What I think end up looking a little bit nicer for that. Like if you can imagine this was like moved down like 3 millimeters, so that this kind of bloop right there was like kind of just cutting just above this hole in the arm. So if that was like dropped down like 3 centimeters, I think would be a nicer placement for that. And then maybe on the sides, like I don't know, but like make it not like a straight intersection here on the side of the arm right here, but like then maybe angle it or something, so that, because like here on the side of the arm you got these like these little bits of angle in like the panel line that's kind of part of the design. Go straight and then angle and straight and then angle, and it even has this like kind of little angled bit there in the center as well. So doing something that was like similar like that with your added lines, I think would be better. Maybe adding a little bit angled notch there somewhere or something, just to kind of keep it similar to what's already there. I think would be good. Here on the shield, oh, okay, I was looking at the black part thinking, did he add those? Or I thought that's just what the shield looks like naturally. So he's highlighting, sanding the sinks on the front of the shield. Oh, no, the panel lines are on the green areas. I was looking at the wrong part. Anyway, so this one as well. Yeah, I'm not sure about the sorry, the mixture of the lines. How you just got like this rectangle bit and then it goes down to this angle bit. I'm not sure. I think it will look better painted, to be honest, but I'm not sure about the design of that panel line there. And then you kind of have this one up here at the top, which is maybe a little bit nicer. Connected by those screw holes, I think what would be cool to do would be to fill in those holes, like with either just like a metal detail part or like a kotobukiya or like a wave like bolts detail part, instead of it just being holes, but like put an actual like bolt there or something, some kind of raised detail rather than a recessed detail of like a hole there. One thing that you could do, which I've seen, what's his name on Twitter? Hang on, let me check here. I'm sure I can find it pretty quickly. But one guy on Twitter who I've meant to kind of go back and do like a series of videos based on like some of the stuff that he does on his builds on Twitter, because I think he does a lot of like really useful like little things that would be really cool to do. Let's see. Maybe I can't find it offhand, but oh, here it is. Nope, that's not it. Anyway, well, never mind that. If I can find it, or if I remember, I'll tell you. But one thing that you can do is to use what's that? The spinner blade from God Hand, which basically makes it's like a drill. Not Rihito, no, Deshefsha, not him. he would be a good example though, but not Rihito. Use like I think it's like the spinner blade, right? Is that what it's called from God Hand? And I think like Three Sheep's design also makes a similar tool that does the same thing, that drills a hole, but instead of like the drill bit, which is kind of pointed, it just makes a flat hole. And then there'll be like a pinhole right in the center of that. And then in the pinhole, then you drill a hole and then you stick a plastic rod into that. So it basically makes like a flat hole. And then in the center of that, you have a rod, and then you sand that down. So it's like a circle detail inside a circle space. Anyway, pretty simple to do, but looks great. I think that would look good here, actually. I wouldn't make it too large though, because just for the scale, I mean, it's got to kind of stay pretty small. Damn, spin blade, maybe, yeah, something like that. Okay, here's a larger look at the design. So also, let's see. It's just kind of sketching out some panel lines here on the chest. That one looks good on the chest. I think that'll be nice. This one here on the thigh, that's also good, because like I was saying about the forearm, it's not only not in the center, but it's also utilizing some angled lines as well, which I think just look better here for this. Here's on the chest. That one looks pretty good. You can maybe enhance that even by like adding a couple bits, like with like a larger blade, something like this kind of. You guys can see that, yeah, I think you guys can see that, right? Like a little notch hole, kind of similar to like this notch here in the center, but adding that kind of in the corner of this or something like that. Just because kind of as it is, I think it's a bit plain. You could enhance it by sort of like adding a bit to it, or like making this this line a bit thicker or something like that. Something to just make it a little bit more interesting of a detail line there. So there's that. Oh, and let's see. It was sketched out as an angle, which I like, but then you scribed it in a straight line, which maybe it looks okay. And like going around this detail, I hope you don't scribe through that, but I think going around this rounded part will be better. Yeah, or not scribing over the top of that. Yeah, it looks okay. I do think I would have liked it as the angled line like you originally had it. But it actually doesn't look too bad, because you have this straight line added like kind of here on the chest. So it all kind of goes together pretty well then at that point. And this angled bit here on the side. Yeah, that looks nice. All right. Yes, adding some kind of detail part then behind the vent there. I like that. Definitely, yes. Some kind of, it's like a mesh, but it's not mesh in that case. What would you call that? Anyway, this detail, vent detail added up inside there. That looks nice. What's the difference between these photos? I think this one's maybe just a little bit more cleaned up or something. Anyway, so that looks good. I don't know if you're gonna, let's see, what does the chest part originally looks like? It's just kind of flat, right? Yeah, just like that. Yeah, it's kind of plain looking originally, so definitely an improvement. I like that. All right. Monday morning. This one also, it's kind of similar with the shield. It's a mix of like right angles and 45-degree angles that I'm not sure work well together. I think you kind of have to go either like one way or the other. And like mixing them, I'm not sure if it's really working. But I don't know, I'm trying to imagine it painted, and I'm thinking it is going to look better once it's painted. I think. But this part is kind of difficult just because of the shape of it, how it's got like this kind of rounded shape, and it's not symmetrical. It's kind of like this weird oblong rounded shapes. It's not an easy part to plan a custom panel line scribe on, but yeah, I think it looks okay. And once it's painted, I think it will look better. But like, yeah, small things. I don't know. Maybe if this line, how this kind of intersects with this hole here where the like vernier is, how this line kind of hits that, like if it hit it like on the corner of that rather than like kind of in the middle of this little part here, and then over here on this side, like if it was on the corner, it's like a straight intersection right into the corner of that. You guys see what I mean? I think maybe it would be nicer. And I think the top corner would be better, because on the bottom corner, that's basically like the same as this line coming around here. So then it would be just like thinking about the actual like piece, if it was like a real thing, if that comes to like the point, then that's like two lines, like this like raised edge and the edge of the panel line also like coming to a point right at the same place is maybe a little bit awkward. I think like having it to the higher corner would be nice. There's some more work on the shield. Yeah, it's looking better. Adding some thicker lines in there at the top. I think that these weren't there when we saw it in the previous photo, right? Here we go with some more of the panel lining finished on that. Because you got kind of the straight lines kind of going across the shoulder and kind of across the chest and then across the shoulders, I think it'll probably look okay. Oh, here's some more adding to this side of the arm. So yeah, I may have been speaking a little bit too soon on that. It's interesting. It's definitely more asymmetrical now, breaking up the part a little bit more. Yeah, it looks nice. And just like imagining these as like actual pieces, that makes sense. This could also look cool if that was like some cutout detail and like you added some little greebly detail up inside of there. If that was like a little cutout section. And there's the, oh, okay, panel line on the back of the arm, the back of the shoulder is different than on the front. Corey, hey, what's going on? I had no idea I was streaming tonight. Yeah, I usually, for these critique episodes, I usually announce them like right before. I don't normally give too much heads up, except for like giving heads up to the guys on Patreon. I'll try to let them know at least the day that it's happening. And we were supposed to do this last Friday, but other stuff happened. That's looking cool. I like that line, that panel there on the back of the arm there. And this, yeah, that looks good too. This combination of lines there looks pretty nice. Like that. And this one here going across the center of that circular part. That's pretty cool. This one as well, adding like a little square of plot plate right here. And on these, just to make it look like a kind of latch detail, I think could look cool. And you could like carry that out because the design has so many of these like little rectangle bits going in on like, and maybe not all of them because it might be kind of overdoing it, but going in on some of these and adding like a little square of plot plate that then like later when you're painting, you just kind of paint it red or orange or whatever, just to make it look like a little dot of color, like a little notch, like a latch detail. Look at like Naoki's work. Naoki does that a lot on his work, for example. A lot of people do, but that's one easy reference to look at. And I like this bit up here on the top of the shoulder as well. That one's nice. That scribed detail. But where was another example of that? Like going back a bit. Anyway, there's a lot of those areas where you could add a little square piece of plot plate in there. Here would look nice. Here on the top of the chest would look nice. I think that'd be a nice little bit of detail to add in this. Yeah, I like that. That's pretty good. Follows the angle of the part there and then kind of cuts across and at an angle. That looks pretty good. Yeah, nice. Here as well, adding a little latch detail piece up onto there. That would be nice. That one as well looks pretty good. Yep, like that. And this one here on the face and then on the top of the head, those angle and everything of those scribes look pretty good. This one though, just because it kind of goes to nothing, I would recommend scribing along this line here to kind of separate this part so that it looks like this vent is like a separate piece. Because like right now it looks like it's like one solid piece, just like with this panel line that just kind of goes to nowhere. So you need to connect that into something. So just scribing along the edge of this here, like that, I think will help enhance the look of that a lot more. It'll look a lot more realistic. This one on the back of the head there, yeah, looks pretty good. I like that. On a small piece like that, I would not recommend doing too much more. Like if you're gonna try to add another line or something into that, I wouldn't. I think I would just stop with that. Yeah, and on this side, because this is covered up, you don't have like what I was saying, how I recommended adding a line around the side of the vent there. It's not going to be very visible. I'm not sure how visible it is. Like we can't see it in this photo, but you may have to do the same on this side, but it's kind of mostly covered up by this bit here. So it depends on like how visible the area is kind of between this part and the head, which is probably not that much. All right. Some lining here. That looks pretty good. See, this is the kind of thing that I would normally, I think you would want to try to avoid sharp angles like that. The inside of like a 45-degree angle. So with this, but then like, how could you ideally then do that? What you could do is like in this, instead of having it going straight into there and then creating that sharp angle right there, is then have this like cut up a little bit, like to kind of mirror this line, cut up a little bit and then intersect with this one straight like that, instead of straight across into there, creating that sharp 45-degree angle. That makes sense. I mean, it doesn't look bad, but just like sharp angles seem not unrealistic to me. If you're imagining this as actual like huge pieces of like armor pieces, it seems like they would want to avoid anything with like a sharp point on it like that. Could just kind of make it more difficult to transport and like more dangerous to kind of to work around. It seems like something like that. Realistically speaking, I guess. See, like this one, how it kind of has the same thing, but it's blunted a little bit by having this little bit of edge right there, which is it doesn't look as sharp, you know. So that all looks good. I like that. And this one too. I like it actually better on this side than on the inside, because I'm just not sure about like the whole. It's kind of like yin yangy. I have like this panel and then this panel, like opposite panel, and you have the same thing like on the forearm. So if you made like some sort of like cutout detail or something like that, just to fill in like a little bit in there somewhere or something like that, I think could look kind of cool. That looks good. I like that. This one as well. It looks good on the front and matches the front of the forearm, so that's good for this one as well. It's got that sharp point on there, but I don't know, for whatever reason, it seems it still looks kind of sharp. It does like kind of, because it kind of follows the angle of the leg here. You have like this downward angle and this downward angle. That kind of all flows together pretty well, and so maybe it's just like this combination here. But again, more opportunities where you could add a little latch detail here on the legs or here on the side of the leg there. This one, let's see, there's the sketch. Let's see if there's a finished photo. That looks good. It's good separation of this round leg armor, separating it with those angled lines there. Jerry there in the chat with a good point. He said, I find making the scribe designs harder than actual scribing. Yeah, I don't know if it's necessarily one is harder than the other, but they're both kind of equally difficult, right? Like the actual skill to be able to make the scribe is one half of the equation. The other half of the equation is to be able to design where to make the scribing line. So yeah, it's definitely a what do I say? Two pronged approach. Is that right? Maybe not. Anyway, but yeah, so that's difficult. So that's why like most of the scribing, like technically all looks pretty good. The lines all look pretty crisp, pretty straight for the most part. Most of what I'm critiquing here is more so just like the layout, the designing of the pen aligning. Like that one, it looks a bit odd because it makes it look like toes or something. But yeah, no, I think like that will also kind of make more sense when it's painted. It'll look nice. You can get some like shading and stuff on there. But also, again, just thinking about it realistically, that this would be like the armor panel would cover kind of all of that. Maybe if this was like a separate, because I know that's like a large, and it makes sense, I guess, and like realistically that this is a section, sort of like thinking about it like similar to like a car. It's like the front fender of a car. It's a very like easily damaged area, like being like a corner of an area that would like make a lot of contact with other stuff. So like obviously with the ground in this case. So yeah, I guess it kind of makes sense that this whole panel would be replaceable like that. But seeing it from the front, it looks a bit strange by just kind of having this larger, rounder section. But I don't know. Okay, so added another line here on the chest. I like that because we're starting to use some more angles there. So instead of just the straight lines, got some angled lines in there as well. That looks good. This one, again, this panel seems a bit like nonsensical, realistically. But I don't know. It could be cool. I like it well enough. If you like put some sort of decal on there, like to make it obvious that like this is a panel that is like you're able to like lift it up in order for like access to like the electronics, some electronics here, like for the ankle or something, like for the ankle, what was it, like a pistons or something in there, something like that. That looks good. Yeah, like that. And okay, so there's finished leg and unfinished. So like for the leg, for the panel line on the front of the leg ended up being a lot different from with the sketch that we saw before. It was just kind of like a line here at the top. And this looks pretty good. I like that very asymmetrical cutting across the leg there. That's pretty cool. Let's see. I just want to check back in here with the chat for a second. No Fucks said, I found when scribing or planning to scribe, it's good thing to ask yourself, can I make these panel lines using some plastic additions, or is scribing the only option? Oh, okay, so you're talking about like adding like a piece of like 0.5 millimeter thick plot plate or something like that as like a raised panel rather than just like separating the panel. I get what you mean. Yeah, that's possible. Is that blue line, is that already scribed onto there, or I'm guessing that is? That looks a bit odd because it's like a panel inside a panel inside this larger piece. And again, just thinking about it realistically, this is a big kind of piece of armor here that kind of is like this whole big shape just with this one kind of section cut out of that. The smaller section is fine, but having like a section inside of a section just seems a bit nonsensical. Just thinking about that realistically. Yeah, it's looking pretty good there from the side, seeing everything kind of start to come together. And I think we're near the end. So this is kind of maybe near the end of the work in progress, getting ready for painting. There's some work on the gun as well too, it looks like. Is it or not? I think so. Or at least just removing the seam line on there, which looks like maybe you could use a little more glue and or putty here. You can still see the seam a little bit right there. So I think maybe remove the seam, and then that's just some primer on that, just to kind of check the the seam mine, it looks like, possibly. Some wiring bits there. You can see just kind of the backside, how that's looking. Yeah. And some damage. There you go. These look nice. I'm not sure about this one. I mean, it looks. I'm just not sure what kind of it's supposed to be, but I like that there's like some kind of burn marks, kind of around the bullet hole, not just the bullet hole itself. But you got some other kind of marking around there. This one, I guess it could be like a kind of ricochet shot or something like that off there. So yeah, I don't necessarily mind it. Or like we have this one down here, which I'm guessing is also supposed to be like a just kind of an angled shot, or maybe from an enemy like melee weapon. So maybe that's what this one is supposed to be as well. This one, but it's not obvious what it's supposed to be, and doesn't necessarily have to be obvious, but should look like something, I guess. There's some more kind of weathering on that, just kind of some dents and bits. And so these, like, I'm not sure if these are all then meant to be, because like these, I'm taking these are like meant to be kind of bullet holes, which makes sense on the shield as well too, bullet impacts. But these, because there's a lot of them kind of scattered all over the place and they're quite small for the most part, if these are meant to be like bullet impacts or just kind of like general kind of wear and tear. But yeah, that then you like, not necessarily that it's like big chunks, but like, again, thinking about it realistically, that's a pretty big, like, at least like softball or even like basketball kind of like size chunk of the metal kind of broken out there. So it's quite a big, so like if you were just using this as like just kind of general weathering, and then like you're just going to have like some rust streaking out of this, so basically it looks like it's just kind of the metal deteriorating a little bit. That's quite heavy deterioration to be like that much like broken out of there, some of these holes. Or if they're meant to be bullet holes, they're very tiny, so kind of too small for bullets, too big for like general wear and tear, it seems like. But I don't know. It looks like these kind of bits are still like work in progress at the moment. That he's still working on those a little bit. So we'll see how those end up being worked on some more, because that's the end of the work in progress photo. So there's a lot to go through with that. Generally, I think at this point, a lot of the pen aligning like choices that I may have disagreed with, it's kind of it's retroactive. It's hard to go back, and then like I'm not expecting Justin to go back and like rescribe a bunch of those pen lines or anything. It's just stuff to keep in mind for the next one. I think overall it looks fine. There's some of the pen aligning choices that I may have done a little bit differently, but it's just something to keep in mind on like the next projects. All right, due to flying through the Thunderbolt sector, Garrett. Yeah, it could be something like that. All right, let's check out Andy's here. His gym. Let's see. This time it's a gym sniper. All right. Here we are. So we got some work in progress and some finished photos here. So these are like very light work in progress. So maybe kind of towards the end, I see where it's just kind of like finishing the decals and stuff. So we can take a look at these, but I think we can probably just focus on the finished photos. Well, here's a earlier work in progress, just like with the base painting there. It looks like great colors for one. I know Andy has done, I've seen him do this like kind of very similar color scheme before on a Armored Core kit that he did, which I think we took a look at in a past episode before. Either that, or it was the Armored Core kit that he submitted for the Kotobukiya contest way back when. Anyway, he does these dark navy blue and grays color scheme very well. At least I've seen him do it before very well, and it looks good on this one as well. I see Mike there in the chat. Hello, Mike. I was just referencing your comments earlier when we were talking about weathering on our earlier bid, talking about the tightness of the weathering, tightening it up. Interesting. Okay. All right. Let me see. Hang on, because Deshevstra's in the chat. I just got this email from you. Was that actually just sent by you just now, or is it like something weird with my email that like I just didn't get it until now? That's weird. Did you like send? It's because it's your 30 minutes missions entry photos here, Deshevster. Did you just send that now, or did you actually send that like a long time ago and it's just now coming to me? Last night? Okay. All right. Anyway, okay. Sorry. Gotcha. Okay. Back to Andy's work. I am noticing, if you look closely, a little bit of mold line there on the front of the shoulder. It's because it's kind of like the placement of that. It's not like a very obvious mold line, but as far as I can remember on the kit, that is a mold line on there. I would have sanded that if it was me. That little bit just going right on the edge of there. I think I could be wrong about that. Also, the red on top of this gray, it's not very visible. And I think it's just unfortunately because of that decal. And sometimes like decals, I'm not sure where that decal was from, or like what set it's from or whatever. Normally like red, what you would want is like the decal to be printed in a way that like is printed white and then red on top of that. It was one decal, but just like the way that it's printed, it has like a white base underneath the red. This looks like it's maybe not one of those, like it's like just red, in which case then when you place it on a darker color, it's going to be kind of not very visible. But if we fast forward a bit here to take a look at the finished photos, yeah, you can see it kind of like is a little bit lost there on that gray. So having that either in white or like a decal that had a white base under the red would have looked nicer. You'd have at least been able to see it more. So here's just some more work in progress of the painting stages. When it's still got that gloss going on, man, it's always difficult because when you're working on a kit like this and like the gloss and like the kit is ultimately meant to be matte finish, but like as you're kind of going through the finishing stages and stuff with this gloss, thinking like the gloss just looks so bad, you kind of just have to like do your best to ignore that, how bad the gloss looks, until you get to like actually spraying that final top coat on there, and it all just comes together in the end. So here you go. Here's how it looks. The final result here. Okay. He said he was having email issues this morning. Should we find out? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So here we go. Yeah, here's the finished work. Yeah, the colors look great. This off-white kind of cream color there used for the shield looks great. So much better than if it was just pure white. Definitely, especially with all these darker colors. Even like it's way too high contrast to just have pure white on there. So having just a little bit off-white makes all the difference there for that. It looks great. These detail parts added up onto the top of the shoulders are, because they're sticking up so much, I know exactly what these are. They're Kotobukiya option parts, and I've used them before on different builds. They have two different types on the runner, and one type has like a circle base. But let me see if I can find a picture of the set. Kotobukiya MSG hook detail is the name of that. Okay, here, I'll show you guys what I mean. So that we're all on the same page anyway. This is the one. This is the set. So if you guys can see, there's two different types. There's one type that has like a circular base part at the bottom, which are easy. Those you can just stick on like that because there's a detail there at the base. And there's another type that don't have anything at the bottom, and that's what Andy's used here in this case. With these ones, I don't often use them because they're kind of more difficult to place, because I think when you just kind of stick them on like that, they look kind of a bit they just end up kind of looking stuck on, because there's nothing like as a base like kind of connecting between the part and this. one thing that you can do, and how I've used them before, is just drill a hole. So you have to drill holes where these are going to be placed, and that's what's kind of difficult, because then you have to like measure it very carefully and drill your holes very carefully, exactly so that that detail part lines up when you go to plug it in. And I'm just not a very careful person when it comes to that kind of thing, so that's why I struggle with that. So as far as I can tell, in Andy's case here, it looks like those are just glued directly onto there, and so they're kind of very high. So I think it would have been nicer if either you just cut that off a little bit, or drilled the holes to be able to plug that in so that they're a little bit closer, because they're just very tall on the top of the shoulder there as it is. I love those detail parts, and like I definitely like the addition of them onto here. It definitely makes sense with the design. It fits well, but they're just a little bit too high. So either cutting like 2 millimeters off the bottom of that, or drilling holes to sink them down a little bit into the part there would look a little bit nicer. The weapon is also customized, isn't it? It's like what is that anyway? Seeing the work in progress photos, I was thinking it was like a modified Jester rifle, but it's not. It's like the back half of a bullpup machine gun, which is that comes with this kit, but the front half is like just like a kit bashed some parts. I'm not sure exactly. Just looking at it, can't quite tell, but some kit bash parts that look nice. Anyway, looks great. Very convincing anyway. So for a nice kind of custom assault rifle there, it does look cool. Yeah, the painting looks great, definitely. There's the colors and the application. Very smooth, very crisp. And nice top coat on there as well too. It's not like super matte. It's like a little bit kind of satiny. Looks very nice. You get like a little bit of shine on there. You can see from the lights. So great finish. Ooh, a little bit, maybe a little bit more sanding required here on the back end of the gun there. You can see a little bit of that nub mark there, or just needed a little bit more sanding there. Okay, here's the completely unpainted work in progress photo. So yeah, that part looks so familiar. That black part on the top. I know exactly what that's from, I'm sure. What is that? No, it's gonna bother me. I'm trying to think of what that part is from. I know exactly. I've seen that before. Shit. No, it's gonna be bothering me. Anyway, it looks great. I like these like little bits of like a kind of two-tone metallic-y kind of colors up here using the thrusters. It looks like kind of like a brass kind of color, and then like a more silver color. Those look nice and not super shiny, like kind of in your face shiny metallics, but they're kind of understated there. That looks good. And the same thing like kind of for the frame. It's in like a really nice kind of, it's like dull metallic kind of color. That looks nice. So yeah, really nice colors on this one. And the reds used like for the pistons, it's not like a super bright red, but this kind of dull red. It might even be hull red, and it looks a little bit brighter than hull red. Hull red is pretty dark, but I don't know. Could be. I'm just thinking about what color he used. Actually, I'm dumb. I've got emails from these guys. Andy, I should have actually checked their emails. I forgot to do that. Okay, checking back to Andy's emails. His email here with some more information about this. He said, I felt the white dingo was a bit too bright for a sniper, so he wanted it to be a little bit more stealthy with mixed gray. Yes, okay, that makes sense. Also bashed together a more long-range version of the bullpup rifle. Okay, otherwise pretty straightforward build. And added custom details on the shoulder, like the Blue Destiny gems. Yes, finished off with the stock decal placement and oil wash. Okay, oh yeah, so that's what we're seeing there for the finish of that. It looks nice. Okay, so sorry to kind of forget about the explanation in the emails, which I forgot about until now. But anyway, yeah, so that's what's kind of tying the colors together there at the end. That why it looks so nice here is that that oil wash does look nice. It really does bring the colors together. Looks nice. So you can see like from here, you guys can see the color difference. This is before oils, it looks like, and then after that. Everything's kind of all tied together. It's kind of a little bit more kind of brownish kind of finish. Yeah, warm finish anyway on that. Whereas here the color is a little bit more cooler looking, right? So very cool. Thank you, Andy. Beautiful work on that. Let me see. Zach ain't afraid to call anyone out on mold nub marks. Yeah, this got to. Even Lincoln, Lincoln shared, it was like a week or 2 weeks ago or something. He shared his picture of the Jesta that he's working on Twitter, and I had to remind him of the mold line on the back side of his shield there that he'd missed. All right, let's see. So let me just kind of retroactively look back here. Well, shit, no, I didn't have an email for that. Anyway. Lastly, hang on. Not that. No. Lastly, we've got Shaka's and the Chevsters here. We'll take a look at just a second. Open with an archiver. Okay. Shaka's custom duel Gundam here. Personally, mold marks don't bother me too much. Just pretend they're kind of like panel lines. They can be. They like mold lines. You can kind of get away with them sometimes, but I think more often than not, they just look like mold lines. It's kind of hard to make them look like anything else. If you're going for like a heavily weathered build, it's much easier to hide them. That's for sure. Chris saying I had to strip, repaint, redecal the high new ankles because of Zach. Always pays to have another set of eyes on what you're doing. Yeah, sometimes you just miss stuff. But yeah, there was like a really tiny mold line in like a ankle part of the high new that Chris was working on that I pointed out to him. Honestly, like I probably would have just left it because it's like just like very difficult to notice part like on like the backside of the ankle or something. But good on you, Chris, for going back and taking care of it anyway. All right. Okay, so taking a look at Shaka's custom dual Gundam. So I know that one thing that he did with this was a lot of like the parts, like custom parts on this, he 3D printed. So like these skirt parts here, and then like I think like the knee parts were also 3D printed, I believe, if I remember correctly. Those of you guys who are also in the Discord server help to remind me if I'm forgetting anything. So I think there's a few other parts that were also 3D printed. Obviously the gun as well too. Oh, sorry. It's like the front half of the gun. This whole section is all 3D printed part that he designed and printed that, which I really like. Very cool. Very. It's not very Gundam, but definitely looks a lot more like something like you would see from like a video game or something. I don't know like exactly which video game in particular, but you know, it looks like something out of a video game, which looks cool. It doesn't like necessarily fit with like the Gundam aesthetic because it doesn't really look like anything like that we typically see like in Gundam. But it does look cool either way, so that's fine. Taking bets on how many mold lines will Zach point out on this build? I don't know. I as far as I can remember, Shaka's usually pretty good about that, so I don't know if we'll see any mold lines on this one. We'll see though. Again, like we saw on the Barbatos, on Arv's Barbatos build earlier, a nice mix of metallics and non-metallics. So like the main armor color being like this multi-tone kind of tan beige kind of color. And then with the metallic accents, it's pretty cool. I like the tan colors, as you might expect. The metallic colors, the mix of the red and green, very Christmassy. I'm not sure I like that particular combination of colors. It's very different, very unique, which I like. So that's why I'm kind of on the fence about it. I like the uniqueness of it and like the creativity of those colors. And you guys know I always like to see a frame in some odd, different color. So like the frame being like mostly in this green color and then having some like these red accents. It's certainly very unique, which I appreciate. But I'm not sure that I necessarily like the colors, just personally, subjectively. but they are well applied, and there's not like too much of it. Like looking at the piece as a whole, I think like the amount of those colors used is the correct amount. It's just the particular colors, and it looks like on the feet. Let's see if we can see. I don't know if it's like some like kind of weird glow, because it looks like you can see like some pre-shading kind of very notably on the feet or something like that around here on this part, where it's like on the rest of the build, it looks like there is some pre-shading, but it's more subtle. It's very subtle. It's more obvious like in a few places it looks like you can see the pre-shading a little bit, but in other places you don't really see. Like on the front skirts, there's like you don't really see it, can't really notice it like at all. So the very subtle pre-shading. Excuse me. I like that. Nice decal work on there. Yeah, the combination of that high gloss metallics and this very dull tan color is very nice. I mean, the finish is good. Definitely, the decals are all really nice. Just not only like the placement, but just like the choice of which decals to put where. I think all looks good. And like the custom parts that he 3D printed, I think. Oh, there's Shaka. I always use a darker base and then shade with a lighter color. Okay, there you go. This has the Tequila Gundam look. It is very kind of Tequila Gundam colors, I suppose, isn't it? Shaka, I thought you were gonna be going to sleep. You stayed up. That's good. I see. Let me just kind of go back in the chat, make sure I didn't miss anything else from you. I didn't expect you to be here, Shaka. I use only black and white on this one. So yeah, the decal is only being black and white. Means I think it looks good because you have like so much other color going on with just like the bits of color. I think just keeping the decals relegated to just black and white only, I think was definitely the right choice. If you use decals that had like red or orange or something like that in there as well too, it'd be just kind of too many colors going on, I think. Especially all different colors. If you had like, instead of red, if you used orange and then had like little bits of orange in the decals, then it would tie it together well. But unless the decals match one of the colors that are already here, adding like a third bright color, yeah, I think would have been a little bit too much. So yeah, I think that was a good choice. Man, just how great of a head design is the Duel Gundam. Let's just all agree on that. The Duel Gundam in general is a design that I particularly really like. It's one of the better ones from the series, definitely. In general, but just the head, it's so cool. I love how it kind of, I always thought it kind of looks like it's wearing a hat or something. Maybe just kind of like because of the brim of it, sort of looks like a hat or something. I don't know. It kind of like sticks out to the front a little bit more than other Gundam designs. But otherwise, yeah, very cool. Very clean. Even with the pre-shading on there. Like I said, I like how subtly that's done. I'm still not sure about the colors, but hey, I need to keep myself entertained and spicing my builds. Yeah, totally. I get that. I mean, sometimes you try like experimental colors. You're not sure if it's going to work. Sometimes it works out better than other times. What often happens with me is that like what'll happen like with the Leviatine kit that I painted up recently. Honestly, I don't think the colors end up like, it's not my best work. I'll just say I don't think the colors are like as successful as I would have hoped. It looks fine and like I like it, but like speaking of objectively, the colors probably aren't that good on it. Subjectively, I think it still looks pretty cool, even if it's not exactly what I was hoping for. So I totally get that experience. Sometimes, you try something and just doesn't work out exactly as you would have hoped, but whatever. I mean, you just move on to the next build. So can't beat yourself up too much over trying something and it not necessarily working out as you would like, because it's a very small thing. I think overall the build is it looks very good. Colors are a bit odd, but other than that, it looks cool. What does it say on the back there? Haiduk? I'm guessing there's something more to that, or maybe that's all. Is there a better picture we can see that? Oh yeah, it is. Okay. Does that mean something? I'm guessing that's something, but I don't know what that means. See, just checking up here in the chat again. They all look like they're wearing a helmet. Well, I guess yes, yes. Technically, yes. A lot of Gundams look like they're wearing a helmet or like some sort of head armor, right? That's the thing. But something about the Duel Gundam, in especially, kind of always looked to me like it's kind of wearing a hat or something. So I think it's got like a little bit more of a brim than other Gundam designs or something. I don't know. It's a cool design. Great kit too. If you guys have never built the Master Grade, even if you're not that into Gundam Seed, you should definitely build this kit at some point in time. The front skirts are a little bit annoying. The front skirts are a little bit touchy. That's kind of the only real thing to complain about it, though. The Duel and the Buster Gundam. Oh, okay. There's a Haiduk uniform. Okay, there is. So what does that mean, though? Haiduk. What is that? Means outlaw mercenary in volcanic region. In some countries, spelled Haiduk. Oh, okay. I had a college classmate who had a surname Haiduk. Jordan Haiduk, I think was her name. Interesting. So now I'm wondering about the origin of her family name. There you go. All right. So we have those four, but we have a later entry here from Deshevster. So let me go ahead and pull his photos here from the email. Photos here of his 30-minute missions build, and I will do some more. I will do a video on the 30-minute missions results. If you guys missed the results of the 30-minute missions custom contest, we announced the results, the winners, on the live stream last Friday on the USA Gundam TV channel. And I am planning on doing a video later this week just to kind of show you guys the winners again, just here on my channel, and also the runners up, and then just a montage of all the entries like I typically do. Speaking of Zaharia, or Zahar is a very typical family name in Eastern Europe, Turkey, or Zakar, which means sugar. Oh. She's obviously not Zach. So you're talking about like it's kind of similar to like Zachary. I was mentioning before about how like my best friend, his mom's surname is Zachary. Spelled differently than that, but could be related to that, like you're talking about there. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, I don't think we're going to do like any feedback sessions like we did for the clean versus weathered entries. For the clean versus weather contest, how we did like a few feedback sessions for that. I don't think I'm going to do that for this 30-minute missions contest. The truth is that those just take a long time. As you guys saw, it took us like 4 episodes, like a couple hours each. It was a long time anyway, just to go through all the entries, because we want to be like, out of fairness, we want to like give some good feedback for like for everyone who entered, and it just takes a long time to do that. But I do at least want to go through some of them, and so we'll do that here for the Chefsters. He sent it just to check up here in the chat. So you were saying you never heard Zach's family name. Oh, okay. So yeah. Where's Old to Gold? Blue Falconer said. Another episode of Old to Gold. Do I have anything that I'm kind of like is in the queue that would fit that? Not really. Sorry to say. I don't think I have anything really in the queue at the moment that would fit another Old to Gold episode or a series anyway. I slept for a week after those feedback streams, Chris said. Yeah. Who needs LEDs when you have those paints? Yes. Okay. So let's take a look at Chefster's Spinatio kit, and let me just go back to his email. He said, and he's here in the chat as well, but this was for his 30-minute missions contest entry. It's a cyberpunk-ish themed Spinatio. Mostly dark colors with this, and then added some touches of pink and some chrome decals to give it a top cyberpunk feel. Okay. Pabs was 2 centimeters taller before starting those feedback streams. Yes. Did you really throw away the GPO too? No, I didn't. It's still here. All the parts anyway. And probably most of it, I won't end up, like a good half of that kit probably will end up in the trash. But like especially the arms, I did really like the work that I did do on the arms. So probably what I'm gonna do with that is use those for kit bashing for something. And I have some ideas. I was thinking about using them on actually like a Mechatro kit, on like one of the 120 scale Mechatro kits. I think those arms could actually work on that. Possibly. They look a little bit kind of similar, it's like in shape to like the power arms of the power arms type of the Mechatro build. Anyway, let's focus and take a look at Deshevster's work here, and then we'll wrap it up for today. Because for the rest of the day, actually, I'm working on where did it go? It's over there. The RG Shinanju. So the project kind of working on revisiting the RG Shinanju is what I plan on working on for kind of the rest of the day today. So I'm sure you guys are anxious to see that as well. But as far as like the cyberpunk theme, yeah, I mean, I'm getting it with like the dark colors, the bright color accents, the sword in there. And especially like seeing it like this, I think it needs a little bit something more still to kind of like push it into like the cyberpunk theme. And it's not my particular forte. I would have to like really kind of look at some other like cyberpunk examples to kind of to tell you exactly what I think that might be, to kind of push it more to being a even more convincing like kind of cyberpunk feel to it. Overall, I mean, just the kit in general, I mean, I think you have it's nice work with that. That on the back is a gun, right? Okay. At first I was wondering if it was a gun or if that's like the sheath for the sword, but it is a gun, isn't it? And I'm guessing that's some fluorescent pink, and I always like to see some fluorescent on there. All those line decals were super shiny. Really bummed. Okay, he said that the matte finish killed how chrome the decals are. Okay, yeah, that would do it. So the decals were a lot more chrome, and then with the matte finish, yeah, they just kind of end up looking white, basically. That's what, like, I've gotten decals like from Samuel Decal before, like years ago, that were like silver. And well, like when I ordered them, I thought they were supposed to be gray, but like he was like, "Oh no, they'll be gray. Just once you top coat them, the silver will turn to gray." Like, okay, so I tried it and it worked. So one thing, if you guys ever get like metallic decals and you don't want them to be metallic, or if you get metallic decals and you want them to stay metallic, yeah, you kind of can't really spray like matte top coat over metallic decals. I don't think it works. If it can work, let me know. I don't think that it would work, just based on my experience. Let's see. Those decals aren't doing what they're supposed to do, Shaka said in the chat. Yeah, because they end up kind of looking white. So it kind of unfortunately didn't work out like that. But the pink accents are cool, with there just being a few of them. Maybe like one more like accent like on the head or something. Like if you would have had the kind of like the horns being in pink or something on the head could have been cool. Like these horn bits here to be in pink. And I mean, with accents like that, it's a delicate line. You know, you don't want to overdo it by adding too many bits of that, and so you kind of have to go very conservative with how many of those color accents you want to place, and also where you want to place them. You don't want to place them like evenly spaced throughout the whole build. But I think like pink horns, I think could have been cool. Just have a little bit more bit of pink on there, because as it is at the moment, because it's very dark, you have some orange in there, but the head and like all like the head and the body is all just kind of all black. There's nothing really to really break it up other than just like a little bit of decals on like the front of the chest. But because there's no decals on the head, this whole section here, oops, zoom in. This whole section here of like the top half of the torso and like this shoulder minus the decal on that side, it's just kind of a lot of black there. And it's just kind of lost a little bit, all the detail. So number one, I think an LED in the head to make that eye glowing would have been cool, or painting a glowing effect, which you could try. painting and glowing effect there. And I think, yeah, these horns could have been pink. That could have been cool, just to kind of give you something a little bit more in this area that's just kind of mostly all black for the most part. You can see the decal on the back of the head, just because that was gloss coated. Decal on the back of the head. Oh, yeah, okay, that one there. Yeah. Right there. Okay. Yeah. What decals are those, by the way? Did you say, Deshefsher, did you say what decals those are? They're like 4. I don't think there are 4 this particular kit, I would imagine, right? Something. There's also like Delphi decals or something. If they're chrome, I don't think obviously Bandai has put out any chrome decals for this kit. Okay. HIQ, new type HIQ, custom ones. Okay, I'm not sure if I've seen those before. You probably shared it somewhere in Discord or something, and I may have missed it. But anyway, yeah, cool. The stance is, yeah, I think it works. It's a little bit kind of one-sided. I think having this leg, instead of being straight, having it be a little bit angled out, to maybe make because at the moment it's just kind of hard to tell. Like, what it looks like he's doing sort of like an on guard, like a fencing kind of stance. But yeah, I think having the back foot just a little bit farther back, I think, would make the stance look a bit more convincing. Because now, like, thinking about that, if he's going to lunge or something, he wouldn't have any force off his back leg to lunge if it's just like straight down. And it is a little bit of an angle, but I think putting that a bit more of an angle be more convincing in a pose where it looks like he is actually ready to strike or attack or something. The pose looks a bit more like defensive or something, in which, at that case, again, like if he's getting ready to be attacked, then that back foot would still want to be a little bit more planted back, I think. So maybe adjust the pose just a little bit. Because it depends on where you're looking, like the angle you're looking at. If you're looking at it like from the front angle, it looks fine like that. It's only from the side when you see like the angle of this back leg, I think, could be a little bit further back. That's all. But anyway, I couldn't get it to stand right. Those ankles. Are the ankles bad on this kit? Looks like you guys are saying, and Blue Falcon are also saying the ankles are rough on the kit. So yeah, I have not built this particular kit, so I don't know. But yeah, if you can adjust the angle of that leg, I think a little bit, that would also maybe help with the pose. And then maybe twist the body a little bit, because you have like the torso and the torso and the hips are kind of in line, and if you move the torso a little bit, so like the sword is basically kind of coming out more like between the legs, and like how you can see here, this arm and like the sword going out are like kind of parallel to this front leg. But if the sword is more like towards the middle, kind of like if you guys do like tennis, right? So you're holding a tennis racket like in the center, not like holding it like that, right? And obviously it's not tennis, but twisting the torso a little bit, I think, to have the sword more pointed towards this way, and that back foot a little bit back. Try it. Anyway, try it out. See how it looks. But there you go. So that is all the works for today. Thank you guys. Chevster, Arv, Shaka, Andy, Justin. Always appreciate you guys submitting your works for that. And everybody else on Patreon. If you guys want to submit works for future episodes, those of you guys who aren't already Patreon supporters, you can check out my Patreon page for more details about that. I try to do these episodes around once a month. And so we'll see you guys for another episode in about a month's time, or just sometime probably before the end of September, actually, because it's September. It's still August now. It's August 30th now. So in September. Arvs asks, when is the Eclipse review? Well, although I pre-ordered the Eclipse, my pre-order was not filled yet. So I'm waiting. Just like with the Nightingale, waiting for that. And the 30-Minute Sisters kit, waiting for that, as pre-orders are not being able to be filled as I'm sure all of you guys are probably experiencing. If you've pre-ordered anything that's come out like in the past month or so, it's very possible your pre-orders may have been bumped, and that's what's happening to me too. So I will be reviewing the Eclipse as soon as I can. I don't know when that will be. So that's kind of why I'm kind of filling the Gunpla gap with the HE00 reviews at the moment, which I've got one more for you guys that I'll be posting later today. I just need to finish editing that review. And I started work on the Master Grade GNX last night. I should be finishing that. Actually, maybe live building that. Do you guys want to see a live build of the Master Grade Jinx or GNX? Do you guys say Jinx or GNX? I always said GNX, but I know some people say Jinx. Do you want to live build that? Because I was planning on finishing that up tonight. And if you want to see a live build, then I won't actually put it together. I'll just up all the marks and everything so we can live build it tomorrow. Or I'll build it tonight. Chocolate Falcon is the GNX. Well, Chocolate Falcon for one. And Mike Ronaldo also said GNX. They're both pros. So I had to stick with GNX. Live stream for the Jinx GNX. Yes, please. So you guys all seem also kind of mixed. Some of you guys saying GNX, some of you saying Jinx. Okay, so at least if I can just stick with GNX as I normally say it, at least I know that I won't have like a bunch of people telling me that I'm wrong. You're speaking in robot voice right now. It's like my doing something weird. It could be my connection or something. I don't know. Anyway, I don't know what's going on with the stream, but we're basically done. So let's go ahead and finish for today. Sorry about that. So we'll just pick it up tomorrow, I guess, then with the live build of the GNX. So again, thank you to you guys on Patreon. Thank you guys for hanging out, watching today. And we'll see y'all tomorrow for Master Grade GNX live build. Okay, you guys are saying it's fine now. All right. Anyway, see you tomorrow. Bye, guys.